Great news, continuing to move towards launch, and you could even hear some of those gases being vented over just shortly. And you can hear it even better now. Something else you might see here in a few moments is water being poured onto the pad. Because rockets are super loud, the sound can impart loads back on the rocket itself, so that water helps absorb and prevent the sound from hitting the structure and reverberating back onto the rocket. Coming up on 1 minute until launch.
Dragon is in countdown.
The flight termination system is armed, and we are in
Dragon,
countdown.
SpaceX, go for
45
launch.
seconds.
Dragon copies, go for launch.
Reports go, crew reports go. Now,
T-minus 30 seconds.
about 30 seconds away from liftoff.
Seconds. T-minus 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, ignition, engines full power, and liftoff of NASA Crew 8. Go Falcon, go SpaceX, and go NASA.
One Alpha.
Endeavour ascends, a beacon of human ambition. 1.7 million pounds of thrust now propelling Falcon 9 and Crew 8. Vehicle is pitching down range.
Nominal power and telemetry.
And we are getting good call-outs on propulsion. Falcon 9 engines now throttling down to help pass through the period of maximum dynamic pressure.
Falcon 9 is supersonic.
Stage 1 throttle up.
1 Bravo.
So with that call out,
Copy 1 Bravo.
we know that Falcon 9 is throttling back up, and that one call out for 1 Bravo means that we are in the second and final abort mode for the first stage, continuing to get good performance from Falcon 9. Now at this point, the crew are already pulling over 2 Gs. And with that call out, we know that that engine chill for MVAC, which is our second stage engine, has now also begun. That also means we have a couple of events that are going to happen in rapid succession. First is that chill on the MVAC engine, and then we'll have main engine cutoff, or MECO, where the 9 engines on the first stage of Falcon 9 will cut off ahead of first and second stage separation. Then the Merlin vacuum engine on board the second stage will ignite and carry the Crew 8 astronauts to orbit, while the first stage begins its journey back to Earth. At this point in the flight, the 9 Merlin engines are starting to throttle down, and we're standing. There's that call out for throttle down, and we're standing by for MECO.
MECO.
Stage separation confirmed.
MVAC ignition.
2 Alpha.
Copy 2 Alpha.
So those incredible views on your screen, and of course the cheering behind me, means that we have had successful main engine cutoff, stage separation, and ignition of our MVAC engine on board stage 2. We are also in 2 Alpha for the aborts if needed. Of course, that second stage is being illuminated on the right-hand side of your screen by our single Merlin vacuum engine on board stage 2. Now, the next milestone we're tracking is the stage 1 boost back burn on the left-hand side of your screen. And we are expecting completion of that burn in just about 10 seconds.
And so Crew 8 is now traveling at over 4,000 miles per hour. We're continuing to get good call outs, everything going really smoothly today. That second stage will continue firing until we reach about 8 minutes into the flight.
Dragon SpaceX, trajectory nominal.
Dragon.
Good performance on the lone Merlin vacuum engine on the second stage. The crew's G-load dips right when we hit the separation event, and it's going to continue to build up now. Again, we just heard another call out for nominal trajectory. That was the guidance, navigation, and control officer stating nominal trajectory, or everything is looking good. Dragon is pointed in the right direction, continuing its flight uphill. This second stage will continue to fire until a little over 8 minutes into the flight, accelerating Dragon to more than 17,000 miles per hour and placing the crew in orbit. Right now, the crew is traveling at 4,500 miles per hour and is over 93 miles in altitude. That single Merlin vacuum engine can produce over 220,000 pounds of thrust in the vacuum of space, and you really see it doing the heavy lifting right now.
So while Crew 8 continues on its way to the International Space Station, the first stage booster is on its way back to landing zone 1.
SpaceX, trajectory nominal.
Confirmation there that the trajectory for both vehicles is looking good. Now, the first stage has a couple of events itself in order to land. At T plus 6 minutes and 16 seconds, stage 1 will begin its entry burn, which will be the first of 2 burns prior to landing. During this burn, Falcon 9 will ignite only the center engine for about 10 seconds in order to slow the vehicle down before it reaches the denser parts of the Earth's atmosphere. That will be followed by the landing burn at T plus 7 minutes and 21 seconds. This time we'll light 3 engines, and the burn will last for about 20 seconds, ending just about a minute before we expect Dragon to be inserted into orbit.
And so we did also hear a couple of different ground station call-outs, like Bermuda. That is one of the ground stations that we're receiving telemetry from, and everything continues to look really good with the trajectory. The crew now traveling over 6,000 miles per hour. Again, this second stage will continue to light for a couple more minutes before second engine cutoff. At that point, the vehicle will coast for a few minutes before separation. And it looks like we're starting to get some views of the Florida coast there on the first stage as it continues to make its way back to Earth.
Dragon SpaceX, trajectory nominal.
Continuing to get good call-outs, everything going smoothly. Now almost 7 minutes into the flight of Crew 8.
So the next milestone we're standing by for is stage 1 landing burn start. Again, as stage 1 approaches the Space Coast to touch back down at landing zone 1.
Stage 2 FTS is safed.
And it is great to see that first stage back on Earth. Coming up, next on the second stage is second engine cutoff. You can hear some excitement here at Hawthorne at SpaceX headquarters as that first stage successfully landed back on Earth. So second engine cutoff will take place here in just a couple of minutes. Once the lone Merlin engine cuts off and stops firing, the second stage will continue to coast for about 3 minutes until Dragon is commanded to separate. At this point, Dragon will separate from the second stage and will fly free with Crew 8 still on board and in orbit.
Shannon.
Copy, Shannon.
And that call out for Shannon, indicative of Shannon, Ireland, the very last abort zone in the
Effect
second
shutdown.
stage. The Merlin engine is about to shut down. You just saw it there on your screen.
Dragon SpaceX, nominal orbit insertion.
Dragon
Hearing
copy.
good call-outs following second stage cutoff. The crew is
Launch
in a
escape
nominal
system
or
disarmed.
as expected orbit. That is great news. That launch escape system, and we are getting our first view of Crew 8 inside Endeavour, 3 of them in space for the very first time. So again, we'll continue to coast for these few minutes after that second stage just shut down. This helps to allow rates and motion to settle out. There are actually small reaction thrusters on the upper part of the second stage that can be used to counteract any residual motion, basically making sure that we're in a stable coast before Dragon separates from Falcon. We expect that separation here to occur at about the 12-minute mark into the flight. So again, we did hear that the crew has been successfully inserted into a good orbit. This is the crew in microgravity, 3 of them for the very first time, all good call-outs.
So right now, the second stage is performing a series of checkouts as we prepare to separate Dragon from stage 2.
And so we will see that separation coming up in just a couple of minutes, after which a number of activation checkouts occur automatically. First, we'll be checking out 12 of the Draco maneuvering thrusters all around the service section of the Dragon spacecraft. And then we'll also begin to get ready for nose cone opening. Nose cone stays closed for the flight uphill to help protect all of those guidance, navigation, and control sensors. It also covers 4 of the Draco thrusters that will be used for the majority of the different phase burns, requiring Dragon to catch up to the International Space Station. So we are standing by for Dragon separation to occur here in just about 30 seconds from now.
Of course, the view you have right now on your screen. Oh, actually, now that our view has transitioned, you're getting a great view of Dragon's heat shield. This camera is on top of stage 2 and looking up into Dragon's trunk.
So if you're just joining us this evening, we had a successful launch of Crew 8. They're on their way to the International Space Station. The first stage has already returned to Earth and landed successfully, and the second stage has shut down, and we're awaiting separation, and you see it on your screen right there. Dragon and Endeavour now flying free.
Dragon, SpaceX, this is your launch chief engineer.
Go ahead.
Welcome to orbit. It truly is our greatest honor for you to trust us to launch you into space. It's been a pleasure working with you, and we trust that all the science and work you're about to do will continue to move humanity further towards the stars. We hope you enjoyed the ride, and thank you for flying on Falcon 9. Please send our regards to Crew 7, and make sure to remind them you just wanted to be fashionably late. I'll hand it off to the launch director for a few words.
Dragon LD, hope the ride was as awesome as a Cybertruck. Have a safe journey to the space station, and we look forward to seeing you when you get home. Thank you for flying SpaceX.
SpaceX, oh my goodness, what an incredible ride to orbit. I'm both glad and not glad that you don't have a copy of our ICS. The cheers the whole way up were incredible. A big thank you to SpaceX for incredible instructors. Tyler, I'm talking to you and your team right now. Incredible instructors, engineers, and operators. They're the reason we are now safely in orbit. A thank you to NASA, Roscosmos, CSA, ESA, JAXA, who work together to make the International Space Station work for us all. And, of course, big thank you to my family, friends, and mentors who are the reason we're here today. Over to you, Mike.
Yeah, hey, Earth, just to let you know, it's kind of like a roller coaster ride with a bunch of really excited teenagers. Just want to mention the NASA community is just a really warm but steely-eyed family that does amazing things, and it kind of hugs you, but it pushes you into the unknown while watching your back. It's really been an incredible place for me to grow over these past 30-plus years, and now I'm really honored to fly this new generation spaceship with this new generation crew. Thanks to my own family for tolerating my otherworldly habits. Thanks to NASA for being the backbone of exploration that we are. And just thanks so much to our friends and colleagues at SpaceX for the awesome ride. It's great to be back in space again.
And I would like to second Mike and Matt's words. I'm super excited to be here. And, I need to here, and the words that come to my mind is that I'm so grateful and I'm thankful for everyone who got us to this point. There's no way we would have been able to do this without all the people, from all the instructors, from all the people supporting on the ground, to the folks in the kitchen who kept us fed, and Liz out at SpaceX. I'm so grateful for everyone, and I just want to give a big thanks to my family and friends who came from all over the world to see this. Thank you for supporting me through all the days of waiting to get to this point. Thank you for everything, and I want to give a quick shout out to my sisters who couldn't make it, Brenda and Patty, and then I also want to give a nod to Syracuse who supported me through everything, and I am in a New York state of mind right now. It is amazing. Thank you for everything.
Warm greetings to everyone from the orbit. I would like to express huge gratitude to Roscosmos, NASA, ESA, JAXA teams, and all who took part in preparation and implementation. A separate shout out to my family and friends. Thank you for your support. My sons, Serежа, Vlad, Sasha, be good. Кузбасс от Москвы. See you soon. Всех тепло приветствую с орбиты. Выражаю огромную благодарность коллективу Роскосмоса, НАСА, ИСА, JAXA и всем без исключения причастным к подготовке и реализации нашего полета. Отдельный привет передаю своей семье и близким. Спасибо вам за поддержку. Сыновьям Сережа, Влад, Саша, будьте молодцами. Кузбасс, Москвы, до встречи.
Dragon, we copied all, and we see the vehicle chasing down the International Space Station on orbit. Nose cone opening is in progress. We saw nominal dehumidifier activation and service section Draco checkouts. With that, your go to raise visors. And I've got one final note. We have a tradition on board this spacecraft for its travelers to bring a small token, a zero-G indicator, if you will, to clearly demonstrate the free-floating nature of objects traveling in orbit around the Earth. And I wonder if you've brought anything fitting that description.
Well, you should ask. Oh, man. So per tradition, we, of course, have a zero-G indicator. It's already been deployed. The significance of our zero-G indicator is not actually what it is, but who chose it. Many parents around the world have jobs that take them away from their children and families for long periods of time to serve their communities, their country, and the world. Military families are a prime example, but many jobs, including our own, share this trait. The choice of the zero-G indicator was given to my daughters to represent the sacrifice that children everywhere make while their parents are serving away from home. We chose a stuffed family dog, and she is free-floating here today.
Matt, we copied all. Good words. I think we don't have video inside the capsule. We'll have to come back with you in a minute for a video of that stuffed dog.
No worries, thanks.
So right now on your screen, you do have that initial video of nose cone deployment. And again, the nose cone is opening to expose those 2 sets of hooks that Dragon will use to autonomously dock with the International Space Station. Of course, loved hearing that crew's description of their zero-G indicator, and we're standing by for those views. Zero-G indicators really do become an important symbol of microgravity flight and the communities behind each mission. So for those of you following along, you'll know that our first zero-G passenger was Little Earth on demonstration mission 1. Here's Little Earth on board Dragon on that DM-1 flight, and later on board the ISS. Today, just 5 years later, we've reached 50 people flown to space. From 0G to 50 in just 5 years is pretty incredible. And of course, here in Hawthorne, I actually have the real Little Earth that went to space safely back on Earth with us here in Hawthorne. Little Earth is a celebration of zero-gravity indicators, an essential component of space missions that help mark the transition into zero-G. From Yuri Gagarin's famous pencil to modern indicators like Little Earth and demonstration missions to Tremor the sequin dinosaur, zero-gravity indicators have become a way for all of us to connect with and celebrate human spaceflight. Human spaceflight has come so far in the last 5 years. SpaceX has launched 9 human spaceflight missions on behalf of NASA and 4 commercial astronaut missions. That's a total of 50 crew members to space since 2020, 34 on behalf of NASA and their partners, and 16 commercial astronauts, including the first all-civilian mission to space and the first all-private passenger mission to the International Space Station.
In addition to flying people, SpaceX also enables researchers the opportunity to fly critical science to orbit. SpaceX and Dragon carried over 1,000 research experiments to and from low Earth orbit and the International Space Station and transported over 300,000 pounds to and from the station since 2012. Researchers from around the world use the space station to address complex human health problems on Earth, studying disease formation, testing drugs and diagnostic tools, and examining the inner workings of the human body. At any one time, the station hosts hundreds of investigations spanning every major scientific discipline from physics to microbiology.
Every mission yields critical research and learnings that help make life both on Earth and in space better. From DNA sequencing to 3D printing, studies on the space station test a variety of technologies, systems, and materials that will benefit life on Earth and be needed for future long-duration exploration missions.
EST and forward bulkhead Draco checkouts, and we see an upcoming burn in 23 minutes, 2-3.
Getting great views of Crew 8 on board their capsule there and standing by hoping we might get a shot. There is their zero-G indicator. Loved hearing the crew's description of who chose this animal and why, and everything that it means to them, to their mission, and obviously the community standing behind each of these 4 astronauts.
And in addition to that, we heard some great words from the crew expressing their thanks and excitement to be on orbit. Really great to see them successfully on their way to the International Space Station. We had a successful nose cone deploy as well as those Draco checkouts, everything continuing to go really smooth. So for now, we're going to end our coverage from here in Hawthorne until we pick back up with our docking coverage in about 26 hours.
So for now, we're going to hand it back over to Megan and Raja at Kennedy Space Center to wrap up today's launch coverage.
If you're just joining us, welcome to Kennedy Space Center in Florida, where we just watched Crew 8 lift off from Launch Pad 39A. 3 NASA astronauts and 1 cosmonaut now en route to the International Space Station. I'm Megan Cruz. This is NASA astronaut Rajachari, and we got to see an incredible launch. What a clear night.
That was amazing.
Dragon SpaceX cabin environment looks good for suit doffing, and we'll take the camera external here in just a sec. Your go for 4.012 suit doffing.
And that's the question we were just talking about before we got back online was when are they going to actually start doffing their suits?
Copy to go, 4.012 suit doffing.
And so you heard the calls there. So first they wait for the nose cone to get open. They wait for the Dracos to be safed, which was the launch escape system. And then once they've verified the cabin atmosphere is good, that's when they can take off their suits. And as you heard them say, they're going to take the cameras external, because basically they're taking off their spacesuit. And it's pretty sweaty. You've been laying on the back for a while. But you could hear it in all their voices, the excitement. And like you said, what an amazing night down here at the Cape. It was super clear. You could see.
Dragon cameras are exterior.
You could actually see the staging, and it was
Copy external.
Amazing view, and I got to see the first stage come back, so it was a super clear night, and we got to see the second stage turn into just a very faint star all the way at Seco.
Yeah, and it's great to see some friends launch of yours. You're really close with Matt and Mike, I understand, and really it's nice to see a launch because we really waited till T-minus 10 minutes to know whether or not we were going to go.
Yep, yeah, and it's it's always exciting when it comes to space flight, even more exciting when it comes to human space flight, and just great to see the team come up with a technical solution, look at all the data. As you heard, them keeping the crew informed, like we talked many times tonight. The core is the person and the Capcom that they are talking to, but there is literally hundreds of people talking on loops and making engineering decisions and trying to go back and look at analysis data. And so a great testament to the team tonight to pull all that data together, as they always do.
Yeah, and to make sure that they're safe at launch and also re-entry. So great to see the launch again. And once they get to the space station, they're going to have a hand in some incredible science and investigations. And here's Jasmine Hopkins with more on that.
Thank you so much, Megan. That's right. We saw another beautiful, spectacular launch from here on the Space Coast. And joining us now is Dr. Ji from Emory University to talk about Project Eagle. So, Dr. Ji, what is Project Eagle?
Our goal is to investigate the impact of space microgravity on human heart microtissues. These tissues are generated from stem cells, and they are a potential source of cells for cardiac regeneration. One challenge is that these heart stem cells are largely immature, meaning that they're not as fully developed as the heart cells in our body. So we are trying to find ways to push these cells to develop further, because transplanting immature cells could actually increase the risk of complications. The good news is that we found this heart muscle cells become more mature under ground-based simulated microgravity. And we would like to confirm that observation under real space microgravity.
Right, so we're kind of taking what we've learned here on Earth and seeing if we can apply it in space. So with that in mind, we've been studying heart health in space for quite a long time now. So is Project Eagle going to tie into any of the other research we've already done?
Great question. Yes. Actually, our experiment is built up on several interesting studies on the space station, including our own. For example, on the space station, heart stem cells or precursor cells grow faster than under standard gravity. So in our new experiment, we would like to learn if this beating heart muscle cells can develop further and become more mature under space microgravity.
Right, so we're kind of taking that that research to the next step there. And of course, that's really important because we're looking at going even deeper into space. But actually, is, things like Project Eagle, could that actually help us on Earth? What we're learning in space for our heart, could that benefit our heart health on Earth as well?
That's good. Another good question. Yeah, so we hope to learn, identify the molecules or conditions that can be helpful to promote the maturation of heart cells, because that could help us develop new strategies to push the cells become more mature on Earth. More mature heart cells are more reliable for repairing damaged heart, and those more mature heart cells are also useful for develop new medications to treat patients with heart disease.
Right. Yeah. So it's great to see, we're taking it in space, also benefiting our life here on Earth. Thank you so much, Dr. Ji. We really appreciate you being here.
Thank you.
Of course. All right, Megan and Raja, back to you.
All right, we're about to wrap up our coverage here, but I want to take one last social media question because this one is super cute. This one is from a 4-year-old, Robbie. and he wants to know, what will the crew do to pass the time on the way to the space station?
Well, Robbie, hopefully your parents are typing for you and you don't have your own social media account as a 4-year-old. But it's actually probably the best time, both at the beginning of the mission and at the end of the mission, because on the ISS, your timeline down to 5-minute increments. So you're going. So this time in the Dragon on the way up and the way down is kind of the time to honestly look out the window, enjoy the fact that you're in space. For all of us, we've trained and spent most of our life getting ready for this moment, so actually getting to savor that and enjoy it. And you heard Mike Barrett talk about being able to look. He said it was like being in a roller coaster with a bunch of teenagers. So, it sounds like there's a lot of joy in that capsule right now. On the serious side, they'll probably be working with the cameras, taking some Earth observation photos, things like that. But it's mostly just starting to get the cargo ready so that when they do dock, they can be ready to go. They'll have to now start worrying about the rendezvous timeline, so they'll be monitoring the burn. So each time there's a phasing burn to get them closer to the space station, they'll be monitoring that and preparing for it. And then when it gets time to do the actual rendezvous, they'll get back in their suits and then start monitoring the systems and being ready to jump in for anything that's off nominal. So they do keep relatively busy.
I was going to say, sounds like they're doing a lot over the next...
There's plenty to be done, but it is a nice chance just to decompress a bit and enjoy the fact that you're in space. And there's some adaptation so that the ISS is a much bigger volume. So it's actually kind of helpful to use the Dragon where you're confined. You're pretty clumsy at first, and so you can't go very far without running into something and stopping. So you can use the Dragon as sort of like with training wheels, get used to microgravity before you get on the space station and go.
So they can actually
around.
Get out of their suits in these next 28
so when you
hours.
heard them say they could do the suit doffing procedure, they're absolutely unstrapping, taking the suits off, putting on some more comfortable clothes, and probably depending on their timeline, they may immediately go to bed. They may have some time to eat and then get up later. So it all depends on the docking timeline.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for that insight. And Robbie, thank you so much for that question. That's going to do it for us here on NASA TV. But you can follow along with Crew 8's entire ride to the station by listening in to real-time mission audio. And you can check that out by scanning the QR code on your screen. Or if, again, you're watching us on your phone, just screen grab the code, and then you can click on it later. Now, Matthew, Michael, Jeanette, and Alexander are on course to arrive at the International Space Station around 3 a.m. Eastern Time on March 5th, so Tuesday. On-camera coverage of docking and arrival will resume about 2 hours before on NASA TV. And that's really always fun to watch.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Just the faces of the crew. I think we showed some clips from earlier before, but it's both exciting because they're coming onto the space station. It's so bizarre to have trained so much at Johnson Space Center in the mock-ups and then see the real thing, and it's upside down or sideways, and just your mind trying to take that all in. And I guarantee the smiles are going to be huge. As you saw, Laurel's excited to see him. Everyone's excited to see everyone. It's a really weird family reunion when it happens in space, but it's probably one of the most fun ones to have.
Well, and of course, before we sign off from Kennedy, I want to thank Rajachari for joining us, co-hosting his second launch with us. I hope you had a good time.
I did, yeah.
Okay.
I think I outwore the jinx this time, so I
Thank
finally
you.
got.
I appreciate that. What we're going to do is sign you up for Crew 9. That's right. You heard it here, folks. Crew 9, Rajachari co-host. And a huge thanks to all of our guests for joining us today, but most importantly, thank you all for watching. And you can keep up with any updates on this mission using the online resources we're going to put on your screen right now. For everyone here at NASA and SpaceX, have a great morning or evening. It's still 11:25, and we'll leave you now with a look back at highlights from suit up to liftoff. Inside the suit up room, where we see our 3 astronauts and 1 cosmonaut. And the point of this card game is so that the commander loses, to use up his bad luck. Here they come, Crew 8, taking their first steps outside before their journey to the International Space Station. Crew is departing from the Operations and Checkout Building across Kennedy Space Center to Launch Pad 39A, walking over to get a good look at their ride to space. Commander Matt Dominic, pilot Michael Barrett walking down the crew access arm.
See, the techs are making sure their helmet is protected on the way in.
Jeanette Epps, Alexandra Gravenkin are 2 mission specialists for Crew 8, walking on that sticky tape to grab anything before they ingress as well.
We see 4 seats in the launch position.
They're closing the hatch now.
Full power and liftoff of NASA Crew 8. Go Falcon, go SpaceX, and go NASA.
Endeavour ascends, a beacon of human mission. 1.7 million pounds of thrust now propelling Falcon 9 and Crew 8. Vehicle is pitching down range.